Ja, wie geht's dir, Daniel?
Hi, mir geht's gut. Machen wir das auf... Hi, ich bin Daniel. Machen wir das auf Deutsch oder auf Englisch?
I'm just joking,
Okay.
yeah. We'll do it in English. Hello, welcome to another podcast. This is the 5th podcast, and today I bring you Daniel, who is from America, living in Germany, and you guys have seen his twin brother, Andrew, in the former podcast. So, welcome, Daniel, to this podcast.
Thanks for having me. Good to be on.
Yeah, it was very hard, it was so hard to get you, bro, in this podcast. Like, I felt like it was.
It was easier to get my brother, I imagine.
Yeah, of course. He postponed it like 3 times, and finally today is 29th of July, and on the end of July, we are back here. So, welcome to Saksu Gorsu podcast. So, this year, we bring many guests who are from international. So, let me start. I just want to start with the American views on everything that we are talking about today. So if you can just feel free and relax, and yeah. So you came to Germany 3 years ago, can I say that?
Yeah, 3 years ago, June 18th is when we came, 2022. So yeah, a little over 3 years.
Okay, so yeah. And where did you stay in Germany at the beginning?
Well, we came directly here to Breisach, and we moved. Our first night, we slept just above. We're just sleeping now, so in that the double room where Selena is.
Okay.
So yeah.
So, okay.
Straight here, and we've never left.
What brought you to Germany, actually?
That's a really long story. You can sum it up by when we were in high school, we had 4 German missionaries who came into our high school. And their job was to find students, to mentor students, to further them, and to form a relationship with them, help them with homework, help them with their social skills, and in the end, teach them about Christ. And it was we're in a secular high school, and so the pastor of this church, Tim, came up to us and wanted to have a relationship with us, and we didn't have much time, but the Lord actually, about 8 months into our senior year of high school, the Lord really grabbed our hearts through various people and a book that I was reading. My brother and I decided we wanted to fully serve the Lord and give our lives over to Him. And we didn't know what that looked like back then, but this missionary fully just came and fully helped us, supported us, made a relationship with us, encouraged us, made Bible studies with us. And so we decided to form a Bible club in our high school. And so my brother and I, in the first, it was over a weekend conversation, and then we had another friend that helped us out. We started every Friday night Bible club.
Okay.
And so we'd get the kids together. We'd invite everybody that we knew, and then we'd teach a Bible lesson as much as we knew how.
Yeah.
Fast forward 8 years later, Tim Lucas started this church project here in Breisach, this church plant.
8 years later.
8 years later.
Oh.
And so he invited Andrew and I then to help him. And so I tell people he helped us with our Bible club in high school, and now we helped him with the church plant here in Germany.
Cool, nice. That's really impressive stories. More to know about it, but I just want to ask you the same question that I asked your brother Andrew. I'm always confused. What was your first impression in Germany? Anything you can say?
But probably my first impression was the difference in the architecture. When you wake up in the morning and you see the tower up on the hill outside of your house, you think, wow, I'm in Europe.
Oh, okay.
That's for sure quite different than in the States.
Nice.
Especially the old buildings, the church, the steeples and just the old-fashioned medieval architecture is probably what hits everybody. That's what you also see that in the pictures, you know.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's a nice catch. So, any biggest cultural shock for you when you were in Germany?
Yeah, I mean, probably just the American Americans are much, on the surface level, much more open than the Germans are. I also think other cultures, or some other cultures as well. But yeah, the Germans are not very open to say hello in the public or ask you how you are and engage in any sense of discourse when you're shopping. I remember one time we were going shopping and I asked the lady at the cash register, I was like, she's scanning out my items, and then I asked her, I said, hey, like, how are you? And she's like, what? I said, well, how are you? She's like, she asked me again, she said, what are you saying? I said, I just want to know how you're doing. It was just a friendly gesture. She says, why? And
that's embarrassing.
I was like, I just want to know. There's nothing deeper than just asking how you're, just trying to be polite. I'm good, how are you? I'm good, thank you.
Yeah, that's the biggest shock in Germany that I also felt that, they do. Last time I told one brother that when they do hello in Germany and then they smile, but the second step, they always, the hello is enough.
Yeah.
And then second step, they are already, their moods are changed or something like that. And then that German brother said to me, at least you got hello. You know, like...
Many
people don't get that. Many people even don't get that. And I was like, okay, I should be grateful then. One thing that you love absolutely about Germany?
Well, the people, for sure. You know, when you live here, I think anywhere you live, if you get to know people, it changes the entire atmosphere. It's quite different when you if you just go to a place and as a tourist, you see the sights, you eat the food, you know, you can walk around and see things. But if you get to know the people, it's like jumping into the house of the culture. And it's in literally and metaphorically, it's just a completely different experience.
Of course, that I'll come in that. We have that part in different chapter, but you're really good in relationship building. So that's gonna be also one of the thing that we can learn today in our podcast through our podcast. I think anything that you miss about America when you came here.
Baseball games.
Baseball? Okay.
No, I do miss baseball games. To go a little deeper, I sometimes miss the. My brother and I had a very strong Christian foundation in the States. I think we were in at least 3 different Bible studies under the week. Different men's Bible studies. So we go to the local coffee houses, and one day we're studying the Sermon on the Mount. The next day we're studying the parable of the sower and the seed. With and there's at least 10 men in each Bible study, and just to be engaged constantly with different people and things like that. It's not as common here. And so those fellowship groups I really miss, for sure.
Cool. So just a quick question that is like out of topic here, but how similar or how different are you from your twin brother?
We're pretty different. I guess it's amazing how similar we are, actually, in our interests and what we do in life. When we played football, we broke the exact same bone And I broke it in my right hand, and Andrew broke it in his left hand.
Okay, that's
Within
interesting.
2 days. And so we are very similar, but the differences would probably come out in maybe our personalities. We're very, my brother is much more open than I am.
Open, yeah.
He's much more engaging. My brother always, when we're together, when he's here, we're always together. My brother will always come in and engage in a conversation, and I'll stand behind him and wait for him to pause before I come in, or wait to be spoken to, or support what he's saying, or or add to what he's saying. But I'm not the leader between us. He's more of the alpha in that sense. My brother too was really he was one of the driving factors to really come here, to come to Germany, do missions work. He really pushed that. So
cool. Yeah, we can find that difference, and when you see, but it's really hard at the first or second time that you see both of them by their faces and structures. I think your heights are same. Your height
is the same.
Everything is.
Eyesight is the same. We could switch glasses. Same glasses, right? It wouldn't even matter. Shoe size is the same. When my brother goes shopping, he buys 2 pair of the same shirt.
Okay.
So he's nice. Also the shopper between us. So
nice bonding. Yeah, I can see a good relationship and nice bonding between you two guys. Let's move on to the next chapter, that it's about books. Because every time I see you here, you're always reading books, whether that's any genres. So you're always reading books, and you're marking it out, and you're having that small list, everything. So let's dive into the books. How many books do you think have you read so far? Approximately, you can say ungefähr.
I couldn't tell you. I really couldn't tell you.
For example, like more than 500 or more than this?
No.
You cannot tell.
No, not more than 500. I don't even think I've read, to read a book and to understand it, I don't even think I've read 100 books. Maybe probably less than 100,
Okay. Yeah, when you read books, I've heard that it's like watching a movie, right? For the people who are bookworm. Some people say that when you read books, you also feel like you are in a movie. Like you can imagine that things, and when you dive deeply into it, you feel like you are in Do you feel that?
Yeah, maybe if I read a novel, maybe I feel like I can see the characters, I can imagine the setting, for sure. Maybe in that way. Very different experience though from watching a movie. I don't know what they were referring to when they said that, but very, very different experience than watching a movie. But maybe if I read a novel, I can imagine things. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, can you name one book that changed your life?
Now that we're on books, I will say this. If we're on books, well, yeah. I read a book in college. I stumbled across it because I studied English when I was in college, and in English naturally you have to read a lot, and so I was very interested in the subject of reading. And a book that really probably changed the way I read is How to Read a Book by Mortimer Adler. Hopefully I have the author's name right, but yeah, How to Read a Book. It's a classic that was, I believe, written in the 1940s in the States. And Mortimer Adler was, I don't have his full biography just in my head, but he was one of the authors of a lexicon. He was a professor, I believe. But yeah.
But how did that book change? Like, what was there?
Well, he goes into kind of the science and the art of reading, why it's important to read. And the book basically can be broken down into, he talks about 4 different levels of reading.
Okay.
There's elementary reading. That's what everybody does when they learn to read. So you learn letters, you learn words, how they fit together, you learn sentences.
Yeah.
If you learn a second language, you go back to elementary reading. But then then you have, I know the word in German, I forgot it in English, Prüfendes Lesen. You have basically you have an overview of the whole book. And so that's the kind of reading where you take a book and you say, well, do I want to read this book? And so what you do is you start by, you look at the title, you look at the table of contents, you go back and look at the end of the book where the index is, and then you read maybe a couple chapters in the book, and that's just kind of an overview reading. And then you have something that's the third level of reading, which is analytical reading. And that's where you read the book from front to cover, and you write an outline on it, and you find the arguments, you find propositions, you find what's important in the book. You can, and you kind of, you don't just read the book to enjoy it, but you read the book in order to teach it to others.
Oh, nice.
And that's kind of one of the more intense levels of reading. And then you have the last level, which is synthetical reading, I believe it is. And that's where you read multiple books at one time in order to find to study a topic.
Oh, okay.
But he wrote something in that book that I thought was really, really fascinating. It's all fascinating if you study reading or if you're interested in reading. But he said something in that book. He says, societies that cease to read, he said, then if your society ceases to read, democracy will be in danger. Because people stop thinking for themselves. Reading teaches you. Reading, it's not just about the material that you're learning. It teaches you in a greater exercise. Reading teaches you to think, which is very challenging. It's not easy to think.
Fascinating, yeah.
It takes a lot of. It's not just an emotional occurrence, or it's not just something where you sit back and you let people think for you. It's something that you have to engage in. Reading is a conversation.
Okay.
Right? It's like I'm talking to you now. When I read a book, I discourse with the author. I hold discourse with the author. I speak to the author. I write down my own ideas. I converse with them. I even argue with the author. Right? That's reading.
Yeah.
And that's why some of the greatest pastors, they talked about their I think it was one of the greatest pastors in the English world is Charles Spurgeon, the Prince of Preachers. And I think it was he that said, the authors of the books I read are my friends. And that's really important. And that's why I can say I have many friends who are dead. Dead and long gone.
Okay. So we have as you mentioned, that we have the 4 levels: the elementary, the overview, the analytical, and the synthetical order.
Yeah. Synthetic.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's a good information that we got.
I'm sorry, synoptical.
Synoptical. Okay.
I should have just read the text before I did. Yeah, I have to go back and look with it last.
We'll put it in the comment section, guys. Okay. So you are more of a physical book reader, yeah?
Yeah.
Physical.
Yeah. I like the actual book.
Yeah, because it's more easier to underline and then make notes, right? Yeah. It's obvious and
and the smell, of course, is really important.
So for our viewers who are watching this podcast, I'd like to bring something what's one book that you think everyone should read at least once? Do you have something like that?
The Book of John.
The Book of John means from the Bible, you mean? Okay. So you mean, yeah. The Bible is a library, it's not a book. It's a library because it has 66 books,
yeah.
And then, so from that, he's suggesting you to read the Book of John from the Bible. Okay. So that's interesting. Yeah.
Don't just read it once. Read it at least 5 or 6 times.
Yeah, cool.
You know? Read it the rest of your life, actually.
Yeah, of course. Thank you. What kinds of book do you read, and like which genre do you prefer most while reading books or purchasing books?
I don't read so many novels. I read more. I read more for information. So I probably read, of all the genres, I probably read the most. Would probably be theology.
Theological, okay.
Yeah, theological works. Some history, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So, where is your favorite spot for reading books?
I heard one guy telling a group of students, you need to go buy a desk. And when you have bought this desk, then you need to make it your own. Put your pictures on there, put your favorite books, or have your journal there, your pen, make it a place where you enjoy going. And then, then you need to buy a lamp. And this lamp has to be nice, and so you have to put the lamp on your desk. And
yeah, you're also a lamp guy. I can show you guys the lamp later on, which lamp he uses and which decks he's on. I can put it in the in the image.
But reading really, just to add to that, reading really, you're rarely life is so busy that you're not gonna have all that much time to read. And if you really wanna read, it's also good to read on the road. Always bring a book with you.
On the road, you mean?
On the road. If you're traveling, if you're getting up in the morning, you have to wait for the train for 10 minutes. There's a delay. Wait for 15 or 20 minutes. Take out your book and read. Then those small times in your day when you're tempted to take out this this device, this deadly, horrible thing called the cell phone, and you're tempted to just scroll your life away, bring a book with you. And take those 10 minutes, take 20 minutes and read that book. It doesn't have to be a large work that you're working on, but it bring a small book that you're reading, and read that and take those small times in the day. If you're meeting a friend and your friend is late, use that time to read. If you're waiting for the train, use that time to read. In the train, use that time to read. There's so much opportunities in your everyday that you could use to stay engaged in the book that you're reading.
Yeah, that's really motivating. And yeah, I also like to read books, but it's kind of nature that people are distracted by cell phones these days. And that's a good tip that we should take it from today's podcast, that we should read a book, and that can change your perspective on some culture or perspective on some people, or that's really nice. And I just wanted to ask you another question, but you have already given it through your experience on how to read books from, and you have already mentioned that's already wrapped up. And so let's go on to the relationship. As we can see that he is a missionary in Germany. He came to help in a church planting project, and that's so cool. And that's why he's also a great relationship builder, I can say. So how and what makes you do so to make relationships? How do you make relationships?
Good question.
Or it's your nature, like inborn nature?
Yeah, I think you get to know some people, and some people are there in your life for a time, and you pour into those people, and they pour into you. Other people that you meet are in your life for a way longer period of time. But I think when you look at the missionary, something that's very different than working in other forms of ministry is that when you're a missionary overseas, over 50% of your work, if not more, is just building relationships. Because you have to earn the trust of the people.
Of course, yeah.
And if you think about it that way, it's a massive opportunity, but it's also you have to go from the point of view that you're going to have to spend a lot of time with people, and trust that God's going to bring people to you.
Does that spending with time with people, does that makes you like that drains your energy, or you feel recharged, or how do you feel?
For me, I would consider myself more of an introvert. I recharge alone. I wouldn't say that I go into a group of people and I'm recharged. I'm much more quiet, more reserved. But that doesn't mean I don't enjoy spending time with people. So
cool. So
the balance is really important.
Yeah, as you have met lots of people in these, until this time. So how many kinds of people are there in this world? Do you think? How many? Can you just on your perspective?
Is it 8 billion? There's 8 billion people in the world?
8 billion, yeah, we can say 8 billion.
Is it billion?
Yeah, 8 billion, yeah.
8 billion? Yeah, so there's 8 billion different kinds of people. Yeah. Every single person is different.
From your perspective, yeah, everybody has for example, you can separate people introvert and extrovert,
Yeah.
So on your perspective, on your life, in your life, so how many categories of people can you categorize?
Yeah, I couldn't tell you. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't usually put people in different categories.
Okay. It's a kind of spontaneous. So
there's cultural differences for sure. My German friends are very different than the friends that I make who are coming from overseas. Specifically, if they're coming from the East, like Turkey or the Middle East. Those are very, very different cultures, very, very different. And typically people who are coming from overseas usually have a certain, they're more open to get to know people here because they're also new, So I would probably say where I categorize people is more in where they come from, cultures.
Okay. But what is the hardest part about building new relationships? As you mentioned last time that it's about trust, gaining the trust.
I think it's quite difficult in our culture to build deeper relationships in the sense of it demands so much time. Our world we live in a world that is, we're driven from so many different forces: work, family, entertainment, rest time, vacation time. We plan out our lives in a very tight margin. And if you're kind of if you're a go-getter, you don't, you plan your life very very intensely.
Yeah.
And I think it's very, very difficult to ask someone to go get a cup of coffee in our climate, in our culture. It's very difficult to spontaneously say, "Hey, come for lunch today," or "Hey, come for dinner tonight." I think that's usually the answer is it's no. Everything has to be planned. Everything has to be, even like 1 week or 2 weeks in advance. And I think the spontaneity is very, very difficult today, where you can just,
Okay.
you kind of have to plan it.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's a kind of cultural differences that we can see in this part of the world, and in my part of the world where I come from, Nepal, and we can just that's spontaneous, and that's what I love about our culture in Nepal. So
sure. Well, I mean, so with my brother and I here in Germany, I mean, and it's the same in the States. It is everything has to be planned, but when I was working here as a what you're doing now as a Bundesfreiwillige Dienstler, we would have the Turkish people from across the road would come over for lunch, sometimes every day, if not every 2 or 3 days. I mean, they would always just come by, and that's why we have so many friends from overseas, is because of this spontaneous. They had the time, you know.
They had the time. Yeah, of course. Time is money.
It really is. It really is. If you give your time to someone, it means they're pretty important.
Yeah. You're giving. Indirectly, you're giving money. I mean, the value.
Yeah.
So I would just like to ask you the last question about relationship, and we head on to life that's more deeper. And what's something small that makes you really feel connected to somebody?
Probably lots of things.
One small thing.
But I really appreciate acts of service.
Service?
Yeah. So if I'm doing the dishes and somebody just comes and helps me out or does the dishes with me, or somebody says, "Hey, Daniel, let me take your plate for you," or "Hey, let me drive you to the train station today from work because you don't have a bike." Those things really, I think I notice those things. I try to appreciate them with people. I try to always say thank you. It's you don't want to take those moments, those small things, those small acts of service for granted. Because you're not always going to have the opportunity to do big things for people.
Of course,
but the big things are in those the things that really matter, and the small things that you do for people.
And what I would like to add onto this is like, do unto others as you would have them do unto you.
Yeah.
You know, like you if you do good, you'll get it back again. So that's what I believe, and that's what true is.
Yeah, I mean, I think think about how many wonders and miracles that Christ did for people, and even the spectacular miracles where Christ is transformed on the Mount, you know. But I think if we something even more spectacular than that is when he washed the disciples' feet.
That's.
He says, "You are my friends."
Yeah.
Wow, that's an example. It's an example to us that our service to one another doesn't have to be great. Our service for God doesn't even have to be so great, but it's in the unseen things that we do for people.
Cool. Yeah, of course. So we head on to another topic that's about life, and then at last we have the interesting topic that's a rapid fire round, where we can choose something between. Okay, so I just what do you believe is the purpose of our life?
To honor God.
To honor God. That's nice.
To find our joy in Him, ultimately. To know Him.
Yeah.
What is the chief end of man?
Yeah, like when we sometimes stay silent, and when we just think about it, and I do this in my career, or I earn a lot of money, or I make a family, and then what? And then what? Every time this question comes up, and then what? So if you just think silently and then you just think about it, then that's where we reach onto that conclusion that it's all about God. People need God. That's nice. What is a good life?
Honoring God and serving others.
Mm-hmm.
Loving God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength.
Yeah.
And loving others as yourself. That's the greatest command.
Yeah.
And those two things hinge the law and the prophets.
You have made it easier. Well, yeah.
Well, I mean, there's lots of things we could do with our lives. I don't, as a missionary, as a Christian, I can't think of anything higher than that.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't imagine anything more, if we strive for that our whole lives, that's a lifelong pursuit. That's something we can always grow in.
Yeah. Do you believe everything happens for a reason?
I do. I don't believe in. Yeah.
Yeah, everything happens for a reason, right? Okay. What is the one question that you have been asking yourself lately?
One question I've been asking myself lately. Maybe it's not so profound.
Okay.
I've been asking myself, God, what is your next step for me?
Okay.
That's kind of been on my mind.
Why I asked you this question is like I want our viewers also to ask yourself these questions every time, like what comes in your mind, you know, and what's that one thing that you're asking yourself, or what you're seeking for? Yeah. So you were asking what's the next step. That's interesting. Do you think people are more lonely now, even though they are more connected than ever? They're connected with the world is a small global village right now. But people are being so disconnected and they are going into depressions, and I can see a lot of depressions in Germany, actually, rather than in my country. So why is that?
That's a huge question. I think there are studies that would definitely support the view that people are more lonely today than they were previously, even though they're more connected. I think our devices, they form, sometimes they can form, I think the device is neutral, right? I don't think technology is going away, but they do form, maybe one disadvantage that we have is they form, especially for young people, a way of escape from the difficulties that we face in our jobs or in our relationships, in our churches. It's easy to just go home after a hard day and scroll on Facebook or watch YouTube video after YouTube video, or try to escape from the problem that maybe you need to be working on. Okay. I think it's called truism. I read in Gene Edward Veith writes a bunch of he writes books for high schoolers, and one of his books is called Reading in Between the Lines. And he talked about the problem of truism, I believe it was, and that's where we struggle actually solving our relational problems today because we don't work on them at all. We just try to avoid them and try to forget about our problems through the phone. And I think that's not good. That's really not good. We spend way too much time wasting time on media today than we should. And I do believe that people are lonelier today. I do believe that it's more difficult to make relationships. I remember when I was in college, back when my parents were in college, the teachers, they reported that they couldn't even get into the classrooms. The hallways were so filled with students, and they were talking and chatting, and there was so much. They were so social. that they were just that the teachers had trouble getting into their classes on time, But when I went to the university, University of Colorado Springs, you walk into the hallways and there'd be 20 kids in the hallway, but it'd be absolutely silent, and everybody's just scrolling on their phone. You could hear a pin drop. You go into the classrooms on the first day. Now hopefully it doesn't always stay like this, but the first day of class you walk in and nobody talks with one another. And it's actually, you feel that it's difficult to talk with the person next to you because you're the only one that's engaging.
Yeah.
And so I think it is. There is a lot of social anxiety today. And I think it does make people more lonely. You can have 500 Facebook friends, but how many could you actually rely on when?
That's what last time I had around 1,700 Facebook friends, and what I found is like if I have to look in my chart of 6 months or 1 year, then I'm just talking to almost like just 50 people.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot of people to come up to keep up with, though.
Yeah, that's a lot. But like the Facebook friends are some, like it's so totally, and I decrease my friends now to 1,000, something like that. So yeah, because I don't need everyone,
Okay.
So yeah, and then what do you think? Thank you so much. Actually, I should have been doing that.
It's all right, brother.
Okay.
Active service.
Yeah, this is active service, guys. What do you think the world needs most right now? I think we have talked more about this, like service and everything. And do you have anything to add on?
Yeah, the world needs more of Christ. The world needs more of the knowledge of the Lord, especially Europe. I think it's pretty, as a believer, it's pretty straightforward. There's an old legend that 2,000 years ago, a man who reported to be God's son came down upon this world, healed people, did good things, helped people, raised the dead even, had 12 disciples with him and a few others, and then is reported to have died for the sin and the problems of humanity, and then after 3 days rose again, was seen by 50 people, and then and even cooked fish with his disciples, and then was reported to have ascended up into heaven and said, "I'm returning soon. Go preach the gospel of Jesus Christ to all the world and disciple them."
Yeah.
The world needs more pastors and teachers and missionaries who can disciple people in the ways of Christ.
Nice.
And I believe that this legend that we call in Europe is actually true. That in space and time, Christ really did come down, and in space and time, Christ really did go up to God the Father, as Francis Schaeffer says. And so yeah, we need to disciple more people in the Lord, both Christians and non-Christians.
That's nice. So the world needs in summary, the world needs gospel. So the last question before the rapid fire round, and that's interesting question that you can look up this podcast and like many years later, and then what would you say to your younger self now?
To my younger self, how young?
Yeah, you can imagine
15,
yourself like I would say 13.
13?
Yeah.
Oh man. I would say, walk with the Lord. Walk with Jesus. Walk with Christ. Don't depart from Him. Cleave to Him. Cleave to Him. I was, especially for young men, I think it's Psalms 119, how shall a young man cleanse his way? By holding fast to your word. Or, you can check that Bible verse, but how shall a young man cleanse his way? By reading and keeping to the word of God. I would tell my younger self also to read the word of God and to make that my priority for my entire life, is to know this book and to know Jesus Christ. Mm-hmm. I was one time I was working in Switzerland in a kitchen, washing dishes. Okay. This old American, there was a pastor. He wasn't so old. This was probably in his 50s, but the American pastor was there on a sabbatical. He told my brother and I, he said he looked at us. By this time we had formed a relationship with him, and we were saying goodbye because he was going to be returning to the States. And he looked at us and he just began to cry. And he said, "Guys, you're so young and you're so on fire for God, and you want to change the world for Christ." And he said, "But you just don't know the arrows that are out there waiting for you."
Okay.
And I remember looking at, this man, that made a big impact on both my brother and I. But he looked at us and he said, he had this Bible there, this old marked up, beat up Bible. And he said, "Stay in this word."
Okay.
Because if you can know all the doctrine, I heard a pastor recently say, you can know all the doctrines of Christianity. You can know all there is to know about baptism and about laying on of hands and about resurrection of the dead and repentance and faith. You can know all these things, the things that we talked about in Be Sent. You can know all those things, but that's not enough. Fellowship, prayer with God. That's the secret. Fellowship with Christ. Christ is stay in me, abide in me, and I in you, and you shall bring forth much fruit. Abide in me. Stay in me.
That's what you would say to your younger self.
And we stay in Christ by staying in his word, by abiding in the word, by keeping in the word, and by applying it. Not just reading it, but journaling and studying and doing for all of them.
Yeah. That's interesting.
The first priority is to apply it as well.
Yeah, that's interesting. And we are at the end of all the questions now. We have these rapid fire questions, and it's not going to take so long. And then we're going to close up this podcast today. It's let's start. I have 10 questions. You're going to think very quick, as fast as possible. Okay. I know that, but this can be,
this might be really awkward.
Yeah. What's your favorite German word or sentence that you would like to say?
Favorite German word? Zusammengehörigkeitsgefühl.
What does that mean then?
It means to have the feeling that that it's a good feeling that you're with other people.
Okay. Yep.
That I belong.
Okay. So, Bratwurst or Brezel?
Bratwurst.
Last book that you made you cry?
The Brothers of Karamazov from Dostoevsky.
Okay, cool. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Yeah.
Naturally.
He drinks coffee in a bowl, guys. He doesn't drink in a glass. He drinks in a bowl. That's what makes him special. So, hug, handshake, or just a wave?
Hug.
That's intense. What thing that instantly makes you feel at home?
Instantly? Yeah. Probably a nice lamp.
Lamp. Okay, again. Okay. You have to select one. What's a small act of kindness that meant a lot to you?
Just throughout my whole life, or?
Yeah, you can just say recently or something like that.
My dad came out to Germany to come see what I'm doing, to see the church and see mission and things like that. And my shoes at that point were falling apart, and I hadn't bought new shoes. And I said, "Nah, I can keep wearing these old broken shoes," you know. And my dad came and rebuked me, and then took me directly to the store and bought me new shoes. But he was so helpful the whole time he was here. He just said, you know, "Dan, how can I help you? How can I serve you? What do you need? What can I help you out?" But that was a huge deal to me. That meant a lot to me. So
now I can say that the world needs good fathers.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
Is life more about questions or answers?
Questions.
Sunrise or sunset?
Sunset.
Now, last question for today. One German habit you have proudly adopted.
Oh, I've become German.
Yeah, like
I've adopted so many German things.
One thing.
House shoes. Both my brother and I wear these house shoes.
House
They're
shoes.
like these sandals that you wear in the house.
Okay.
Nobody does that in the States. But
Okay, cool. Thank you for watching, everyone, and keep watching my podcast. I have the different sections. If you go through Mr. John's show, then we have a different playlist there. You can find the podcast, and yeah, of course, like, share, and subscribe. I post vlogs and shorts and podcasts and extras, and yeah. If you want to come Germany, or if you're in Germany, it's gonna be more relevant to watch my videos, I want to say. And the last, I want to thank you so much for coming into my podcast and being my guest. And also I would like to, once in a lifetime, I would like you to come to Nepal at least once in a life.
And do another podcast.
Yeah, and we can do another podcast in the Himalayas, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be really cool. And yeah, so here we have Daniel, and we end the podcast for today by saying a greeting in Nepali. We do like this, and we say Namaste. By watching on the cameras, you can say Namaste. Yeah. Hope you liked our videos. We'll see you soon on another podcast. Bye bye.